So I'm going to open the lesson and talk for a few minutes about ZenAgain. That was the conference that I went to online this past week. It was, let's see, it started Sunday and was over Wednesday. And we tangled a lot. And everybody at this event was a certified teacher. And I have taught you tangles from many of the people whose names I heard called out. And Tomas had come over from Barcelona and other people. That there were 120 people in Long Island, in Long Island where they had the conference. And then there were, I don't know, several hundred around the world that joined in. People from China and Australia and South America and Europe, all over. And I thought it was very interesting that some of the people like down in Australia gathered in a town and all watched it together, but yet they were still together in a group to support each other in their work. And we had the opportunity then to learn more about Zentangle and to learn things beyond the basics, which is fun for us. But we also learned about some things that Zentangle Inc. is working on. And one of the things that is so interesting to me is the foundation they have started and the work they're doing to help people mentally, physically, and emotionally through Zentangle. There is, let's see, what is it? It's not, is it Worcester Polytechnic? No. Anyway, in Massachusetts, there's a Polytechnic University that's very near where Rick and Maria live. And they have begun a course for credit in the health department to teach at the university. They're in Canada. They have begun the Alzheimer's Association and people in, I'm not sure if it's Toronto or where, but they're working with the Canadian people to help Alzheimer patients do Zentangle to calm them, to focus them, and so forth. Kind of like what you were talking about with your coloring, Francis. And then the people over in Shanghai are doing some things. And Rick and Maria have set up this foundation to support research and the spreading of the kind of the magic of tangling's ability to help people with the Zen part. I have struggled, Francis, back and forth with the concept of being our being so worried about how beautiful our tile is and how perfect it is that we lose the Zen.
Yeah.
And to the point that, you know, at the end we were sharing our things and all, and I said, post it on the internet, let's all see what you've done. And I almost shut that down because I didn't want people to be competing with one another or even themselves with what they're doing. And if all you can do is draw a few lines and fill in those lines with color or pencil, That's fine. There's no, when Rick and Maria talk about no mistakes, what they want people to do is to let go and not worry if the line you make is like the line your teacher makes or your classmate makes. So even Maria always draws things a little off kilter. She won't put a circle in the middle of the page in the middle of the page. She'll put it over to one side. She won't make a perfect circle. She'll make it a little wonky. And she'll forget things. And I think sometimes purposefully just kind of let a line go off by itself somewhere so that everybody feels comfortable making it their own way. There is original Zentangle, which was made with a pen, you know, a tile. I have some tiles here. I do. I keep them right here. A tile, the pencil, and the tortillon. That was it. And anything that included more than this was called Zentangle inspired art. And I think a lot of what I've been doing is Zentangle inspired art. Most of what we see on the internet is Zentangle inspired art, where we're all concerned about how pretty our colors are and how they match, and if the composition is wonderful. And I think that's wonderful, but we need to not lose sight of where the Zen is and what that means.
Okay, I can see that point, but also I get joy out of seeing other people's things that they accomplish in the class, and just amazement about how, you know, they were in the same lesson, hearing the same things, seeing the same things, and seeing the differences. And
absolutely,
that gives me joy to see somebody else's things.
If we had a live classroom, and I am aching to have a live classroom with all my students right there where I can see them and touch them and walk around and look at them and go, oh, that's wonderful. If we were doing that at the end of the lesson, we would all take the tile that we worked on and we'd lay it on a table with everybody else's, and we'd just compare them, but we wouldn't necessarily know who did it. We would just look at the beauty of each one and how each person interpreted differently, and like that, like what you're talking about, Becky. So that's why I left the thing up. This whole Zoom thing is a struggle. At the same time, if we were all in a classroom together, there might be some looking over, well, let's see how you did that. Well, I didn't do it that way. And gee, I don't know, does mine look right? And gee, you know, what if the Zentangle police get me and throw me under the bus? I don't know. What I wanted to focus on today, the jams, was something that is not part of original Zentangle. But it is a heck of a lot of fun to do them. In fact, it falls more into what Frances does than not, because it's really done with colors. She could do it with crayons, just like we do it with colored pencils.
And Gay, I was going to say another thing too. I am not an artist, and I have learned a lot that makes me be happy with what I'm doing, because I'm learning about shading and how things go, and you know, that step by step. And with that, I have some different pencils, some colored pencils that I want you to help me with, because I am not an artist. But the Prismacolor.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so I've got some of those, and I thought, oh, that I want to get those out because I haven't used them yet. And I thought, I want your knowledge to help me use those to the best ability. And that's one thing besides getting together and enjoying each other's company and getting Zen and doodling and that sort of stuff. It really is a wonderful thing for me to have an educator that can inspire me about these techniques that I have never experienced before. And it's fun to learn them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I guess this class is not going to be all things for all people all the time. So we'll kind of split it up. And Frances, I applaud you for being able to take what you need and just be good with the rest. That's really remarkable that you shared that. It's very helpful. You're my little shining example of somebody who can benefit from the class, but doesn't necessarily have to lay a tile on the table.
Yeah.
She can bring a coloring book.
Yep. Thanks.
That's great. That's just great. Well, with that said, any more comments since we're having this discussion or questions? Anyway. All right. I've covered several of the things that were on my list in all of that rambling with y'all's help. Now we get down to the gems. I think we're ready to go ahead and start with that. So let me turn on my document camera here. There we go. Hello, keyboard. Here we go. There is a gem, sort of. Let's see. All right. I've been working on my chalk. So now it looks sort of like a worm or a snail out of its shell. We'll see. So there's a gem that I made with colored pencils on this little bijou tile. And then I put these little tangles around it, very simple things. And here I scattered 3 things across a bookmark. And then, so I just did these first and did the little designs around them. And then I just drew some lines and kind of filled them in and colored them in a little bit and call that a tangle. And use the gems. The gems are such strong focal points that it behooves us to kind of plan things around them anyway. No matter where you put them, they're going to attract people's attention. And so you kind of have to accept that and just say, it's a focal point. Some people let the gems just sit in black and white, and other people color the surroundings. I'm going to show you here a tangle that, or I should say a tile that I really think is fabulous. It looks so effortless, and yet it clearly, because I haven't been able to copy it, is a little more difficult than you might think it would be. But there it is. And this is on a large tile, a 10.5 by 10.5 inch tile. So it's, you know, it's big. And this tangler put all these cool gems just scattered from one corner down to the next, and then very elegantly filled in, apparently randomly, but very beautifully, across the page and connected them all.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I began just a little bit on something that y'all may have seen on my Facebook page that deal with all the kind of vine things on a big tile. I told you I was working on it, and I added a few things here and there. I've begun to get a little more comfortable, but just very little more comfortable with kind of doing this sort of thing, setting out to tangle without having a plan. Just letting the tile tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like it ought to be simple, but I think it comes only after you've done a lot of tangling. You have to have things in your quiver that you're familiar with. One of the things I haven't stressed a great deal was doing the same tangles over and over again, and maybe change them a little, but working that tangle, making tile after tile with several tangles until you can do them in your sleep without thinking, without stressing. And that may be where the final Zen and the Zentangle comes from, where you can do it as comfortably and as easily as you color a coloring book that you learned how to do when you were in kindergarten. So I just said something that maybe I ought to follow more. So I'm going to write that down in the books. I've thought about this before, where maybe I should limit the tangles that I teach. I know Maria and Rick limit the tangles to the tangles that are in there that are from Zentangle Central. And you'll see tile after tile, each different, each beautiful, using the same tangles over and over again. Now, we learned several new tangles at the seminar, but that was after it was assumed everybody there had done all of these other tangles over and over 1,000 times. And I've probably pushed too hard. The person with the most tangles in their pattern book is not the winner. I promise you. The winner is the one who enjoys the tangles they tangle, and maybe only has 10 or 20, but can still make very beautiful things, because there's so many ways you can change it and shade it and do different things to it to make it beautiful.
I totally understand that. And I think that is exactly the nail on the head for me. I've got, I mean, just looking at my desk area right now, I can't tell you how many towels, the different patterns that you've shown us, but I've never used them. I've never doodled them for the Zen that they are in my head or in my heart or in my spirit supposed to be used for. I just have them collected right here on my desk. And that's where I think probably stepping back for me and having one or two or three that are so natural. It's like doodling. Whenever I was a child, I used to doodle flowers, how many daisies and tulips and, asters and all this stuff. And I think that's what I need to do with Zentangle, is get like 3 or 4 that are so natural for me that when I need that Zen, that shut down or calm down. I can just do 1 or 2 big pieces, even just like the one you just showed us that was 10 by 10, and just kind of add to it with the 3 or 4 that are so second nature to me that I'm doodling them without even thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna push in that direction, Frances.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the rest of us too. I have in this closet over here that I have a bunch of little boxes and notebooks filled with patterns and step outs that I copied down. I would spend days where I would see how many of those cards I could copy down. And it did not make me a better tangler or a calmer person to do that.
Okay, that's exactly that. Yeah, that's where I found myself.
Yeah.
And so that's why in last week when we took a break, I went to Ollie's and got me a coloring book and went back to kindergarten and colored with my left hand, and finally realized that, yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I believe that teaching is an interactive experience.
Yes.
And I can't teach, and I knew this back when I was teaching 9th grade. I really couldn't write my lesson plans until I had a list of names of students, and at least I knew a little bit, I knew their names. I knew how many boys and girls there were. And then I needed to meet them before I really wrote some lesson plans, because I needed to know who my students were and what they needed and how I could help them. And when y'all give me feedback like this, it's really important for me. So thank you very much. And I will see what I can do to push us all in that direction. One of the things that I appreciated about Thomas Pedros is how he took one tangle and tangled it in hundreds of different ways. I mean, everyone was a little different, but it was the same tangle. Once you'd done it 20 times, you could do it in your sleep, and then you naturally change it and make it different and make it better. So anyway, good stuff. With that, let's see about these gems and just have fun with it. Do it in your notebook or your journal, or get a little tile. I love these little bijou tiles because they you haven't made quite such a commitment, it's just, it's little. And if you screw it up, it's not a big screw up, it's just little, and you can go toss it away. But boy, on that 10 by 10 paper, I was like, oh my God, that was at that conference. That was the first time I had ever tangled on a 10 by 10 paper. And I went, oh my God, I can't do this. Oh my gosh. But they said, no, you got to do it right now. And I paid for the classes and everything. I said, well, I better do it. And suddenly I was loving it, because once you got it started, then there was all this stuff that I could make those same little tangles over for hours, and just to fill in one little area and then keep going. All right, here we go. I'm going to go back to my document camera. All right, here we go. So there is a little gem. And let me just point out a few things about this little gem to begin with. Let's see, somewhere here I have a little pointer that I'm going to use. So I began it by just drawing an orb, and it's not perfect. Once you put decorations around an orb, they look more perfect than they are. Or we could have used an oblong or something else. And then I think on this one, I went ahead and drew the bezel. That's the thing that holds the stone. The bezel is, if a stone is set with a bezel, it's a piece of metal that is completely encompassing and enfolding that stone. And it's a much safer, the bezel will overlap the stone and hold it in, like right in there, like that. And then it can be decorated. And, you know, this is very simple. 2 lines aura, little lines like that, little orbs, little circles, little aura. And then our old friend, which I know the name of like the back of my hand, and right now it's Crescent Moon. There we go, Crescent Moon. So with this over here, I think I'm going to take, and that sure is green, isn't it? I'm just going to take another bijou, and I'm going to sit here for a minute and just feel grateful for lots of things. And then we'll start. Okay. Today I'm going to dispense with the dots and the lines, and we're just going to draw an orb in the middle. And make it biggish. No, don't make it tiny. And then, oh, we made our orb with a pencil. And then let's take our Micron 01 or some suitable pen and just go ahead and draw that circle, that orb. And if you want to round it a little bit or push the line in one direction or another, that's fine. You see me, I can't even trace a line. But there we are. Then let's draw a narrow aura around that circle and turn your tile as you go. Okay. And then we can go ahead and just put those little kind of cross hatches and kind of don't necessarily make them perfectly straight. Give them a little, make them sort of like a C, but a almost C. And maybe make them a little farther apart. Otherwise, we'll be here all night just making these little C's. Okay. You see, that's not even an official tangle. That's just two lines with some other little lines between them. Then let's start, and again, let's not make these too small either. Just putting some orbs around the outside of this. There we go. And then I'm going to fill in these little spaces down here. We call these interstices. You've probably heard the word interstitial. It's that which is between things. Well, these little open spaces. And I think for now, let's just lay our pen aside for a few minutes and we'll come back to this. If you have colored pencils, I need you to pick out 3 would be fine. 3 will be plenty. Let's see. I'll just say I had 5, but we need a dark, a medium, and a light. And I guess I could have taken in this one, but I've got a black one that I'm going to use. And then we also need a black and a white colored pencils. And these Prismacolors are wax-based. And in terms of working with the gems, the wax base really is the better pencil. So if that's what you've got, those are wax-based. There are lots of other wax-based pencils as well. But for instance, the Caran d'Ache and some of those are oil-based and they just have a different feel. What we're going to do, well, let me go ahead and take a minute and pick out your pencils, and let me show you a couple of other combinations. These are the pencils that I used here. I used this purple, this sort of fuchsia, and then this hot pink. And if the last one could be kind of a hot color, that might be good. I also I picked out these, and I haven't used them, but I think it would be like this. It would be a darker, a medium, and then kind of a hot orange. I don't know. The color doesn't look great, but on the screen as compared to the pencil, but that's kind of it. So you get a dark, medium, and light, but they don't need to be, I'd say, in the same color. They need to be they need to go together, but they don't need to be like this and then a lighter one of that and a lighter one yet of that. You can see they're kind of different. And this, if you put it next to that, is certainly different, although they're related. And there's no scientific way to do that. You just kind of pick what you feel would be fun. And even if it's weird, you may be surprised at how neat it turns out. So all of the gems I make have a black and a white in them. And I'll show you what I do with those in a minute. So I'm going to lay those aside. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to take my black pen. And that's what we're going to start with. After I take my pencil, and I'm going to put a little sun in this corner here with the little, you can erase it later if you want to, or you can just leave it there. But that is going to be our light source. Our light source is going to come from that direction. In true Zentangle, you do not have a light source. You just shade it. You're not trying to cast shadows and all be worried about that. This is not true Zentangle. This is a Zentangle inspired art where we take the patterns of Zentangle and plan and work with them in interesting ways. All right, so we've got our light source and we've got our orb. Now, take your black pencil and start very lightly coloring up here, making little circles, very light. It's just barely the weight of the pencil itself on the paper. If your paper is real smooth, it may be a little difficult, but try to just make it as light as you possibly can. And the light comes from here, and so we're going to make this arc bigger. If we're looking at, kind of look at a new moon. I didn't mean to do that line there, but something like this. We're going to wind up not quite with a quarter moon, but almost. And we're just going to color that black and then just bring it around like two horns right here. And then we're going to just keep doing this very lightly. Don't press down. Whatever tooth the paper has, it reaches up and it grabs that wax pigment off the pencil. But the minute you press down on the paper and flatten the tooth out, it can't reach up and grab the pigment anymore. And I will tell you that toward the end, we are going to be mashing down and we are going to be mixing all that wax together. If you turn your pencil, sometimes with it, you can find a little sharp edge on it or something, the paper will take more of it. But I'd say do that right there, like that. That'll work. Making these gems takes time. It's tedious, and you go back and forth a lot. But once you kind of get into the rhythm of it, it's kind of fun. So The next thing we're going to do is lay that black pen aside and get the darkest of the pens that we've got here. That's pretty good light. So let's, of the pencils we have, I should say. Now, I like to work with a sharp point on this, but not where I'm going to be pulling it down straight, but just like that. Now I have a handheld sharpener. I have numerous mechanical sharpeners, electric sharpeners, battery powered sharpeners. I can't find my Prismacolor sharpener. I like it, but it's decided that it needed a break and went on vacation. It's gone for a while. I'm going to sharpen this carefully. When you're using a handheld sharpener, you can't press it down too hard. It's almost, I don't know. Sharpening these colored pencils can be tricky. I'm just going to leave it at that. And it doesn't have to be sharp. So now I'm going to take this blue, or the darkest shade that you picked out, and I'm going to make those tiny light circles like I had been doing before. Very lightly. And then I'm going to encroach into that white some more. And you might want to turn your tile, and you'll be hitting that tooth of that paper from a different angle, and it'll grab some more of the color off. Very lightly, no rush. And you can see it getting a little darker and turning that blue, and then down here it's a little lighter. Then maybe you can give it a little pressure back here, up around there, and darken it a little bit. Turn your tile. I don't expect y'all to get these the first time. Try as you will. I still don't feel comfortable doing these, and I've done quite a few of them. But if you really want to have fun with it, then you need to make bunches. All right. At that point, now, I'm going to lay that pencil aside, and I'm going to bring in the mid-tone pencil, and I'm going to maybe not begin back up here, but kind of down in here where there wasn't the black underneath, where we're just picking that up. And then we want to extend this. We want to kind of leave a smile, kind of a big fat smile down here, like that. And so you see how these colors are beginning to blend. We don't see it real carefully, but I mean real strong, but We're slowly blending those colors together where you don't see where one color stops and the other begins. And then we slowly move up here, gradually pressing down a little bit more. And I will encourage you to get on the internet if you really want to learn more about these and find every video you can find and watch it on how to do this. And you're going to see 100 different ways of doing this. And you're going to pick up what you like and use it and develop your own technique for it. But there's a lot of different ways of doing it. I learned this the first time from an Ethiopian, but there are lots of different people out there that have them, especially some of our people from China and Japan. They're really good at this. I think they're patient and take great care. So now we really do have all these colors there, and we blended them together. But we can still see the white through the paper. We haven't locked the color down yet. Now, finally, let's take, I won't say finally because we have the white after this. Let's take that lightest of the colors and sort of mix it from in the middle and then onto the white. And you can begin to maybe even see how the wax is literally mixing the colors. The colors are mixing in the wax. And you can press down a little harder, but still leave some white in there. And if you don't, it's okay. We'll solve it. Whatever you do is going to be fine. We're going to make it good. This is just one way. And now I'm going to start pressing down a little bit more. And you'll see those colors mixing. That green blue is going to start looking lighter and looking more yellow blue, yellow green. And we're literally mixing that wax on the paper. I'm pressing down pretty hard here. Just this right in the middle and coming around that edge and like that. And then I'm going to take my white and I'm going to see I had something on there. Oh well. And I color the white and then I begin to color the other colors. Color in them and I'm pressing down real hard. Take some more yellow and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press down a little bit harder. And maybe even add a little. Here's where I start going back and forth and back and forth. And you can see where I've melted the wax into itself here. And these colors. Mix together. And then I get the white. may have gotten a little overzealous with these darker colors. Some people tend to make their gems lighter, and other people will make them a little darker. With this white pencil, we're burnishing all that wax together. And here I need to clean. I'm going to clean that white pencil off just on my journal page until it begins to kind of look smooth. I brush this off with one of these brushes so that I don't smear the little flakes of colored pencil on the other part of the tile. Okay. Everyone turns out a little bit different, even if you're using the same pencils and basically the same techniques. But now I've got that. And what this does is, if the light is coming this way, it doesn't make sense that this would be the dark and this would be the light. But what happens if it's a clear stone is the light comes in and there's a shadow cast from this edge of the stone under it to the surface on the bottom of the stone. And the light shines through that stone and comes out over here to the point where it'll even cast some light and that yellow on the bezel. But what the light does here on this side of the stone is reflect off the top of the stone, like off of a glass. Let's see. You see how that light reflects off the top of that? So that white that's reflecting off the top, here we go. Get your jelly roll, your white jelly roll out. And this is your magic wand where it turns that into a reflective surface. And we imagine that over here at this part, a light is coming through a window or something. And we're going to see the reflection right about here. That stone has if it has kind of a hump. So we're going to see the reflection on the edge of that hump right there. Now, the point, these jelly rolls are real temperamental. And the ink comes out best if you don't press down very hard. On top of that, you will be drawing on wax. You're not drawing on paper. You're not drawing on paint. You're drawing on wax. And so you need to be very light with your touch. I'm not even sure I can get this thing to roll. There we go. Very light. And it's going to dry pretty quick. It'll be difficult. And I may get this right the first time, and I may not. But I'm going to show you how to fix this. I probably would have wanted it to come there, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And then gonna do this. Now. Let's see here. Now I'm going to do a romper room no-no. I'm going to go back over this before it's dry. Don't do that. If you're going to go back over it, it needs to be dry. And then the magic trick is, if it all looks kind of raggy like that looks, this is so not Zentangle. We are now making Zentangle inspired art, where we actually fix things that aren't the way we want them. But that helps me relax, because then I know, oh, I can fix it. I can fix that. So then I go back in here once it's dried, and with this knife, little X-Acto knife, or I could use a needle or something like that too. I can scrape away the paint I don't like where it is. I can straighten it out. Just scrape it very lightly off the top, and then it looks pretty much okay. And that's where our reflection comes from. So we have the reflection on the surface, and then we have the light that's coming through down here. It's a physics lesson. Okay. That's more than you ever wanted to know, Dawn. But there it is.
Thank you for doing this. I really wanted to come back and play with colors like that. So I appreciate you.
Well, it's fun. And here's, I have this notion that maybe the lady that had all those stones scattered across her tile was just learning how to make good stones. So she just made a bunch of them over and over again, different colors, different ways. And then she filled in with tangles. Now on this, we can finish this.
Hey, one of the things that I've done when I've tried to do these gems is on the back of my tile, I just very gently, very lightly do the 3 colors that I used in succession from dark to medium to light. So then I can go back and remember what it was that made this, you know, the colors, like that.
Like
I've been doing that, and that helps me remember, oh, that's how that kind of blends out. Or, you know, if I want more of the middle color to go, I need to, you know, make it in a bigger area.
If you want to be totally obsessive about it, Prismacolor has numbers. Each pencil has its own number. So this is PC 1006. And you can grab your 01. If you want to come back and redo this, that's PC 1006. And this darker turquoise here is PC 105. And this yellow, PC 1035. So you can come back next week and give it another shot, and maybe, or maybe just change out one of these and see what difference that would make. Something like that. That's a good idea. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. We also have to put, while we're on the back, we can put the date. It's 11/14/22. put your initials in. Okay. Now, let's see, it's 8:13. No, 8:14. Oh, I forgot something. That's real important. I know I've forgotten something on this. Now, I'll show you, and it is important. You see on this little puppy, one of the things that I think makes it look like you can look through it
Right.
is these little lines that looks like it's cracked.
Right.
So we're going to put those little lines in. You might think you would use your Micron 01, but au contraire. Do not use this pen. You will ruin this pen and it really won't even look right. Once you go over this waxy pencil with the nib of this pen, you might as well just toss the pen. There is no way to reclaim it. I have tried. So just don't even think about it. That's why I went ahead and put, I wanted to go ahead and get the black down on the paper that was going to be near that wax. Now, if later you want to come back with a PN and go over some of this, the PN has a different kind of nib that you can clean out a little easier and it doesn't get as clogged. Fine. But these pens are expensive, getting more expensive. So don't ruin them. I mean, you can if you want, but it stresses me when I ruin good art supplies. All right, so the way we're going to put these little lines down is we can take one of two things. We can take the black pencil, or probably even better, we can take the darkest of the colors and make sure there's a sharp edge. I may just go ahead here and use this serious pencil sharpener that I have. Okay, and then and what we're going to be doing is kind of even scratching these into, I think I did this one up here wrong. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't carefully studied the way things crack. But let's say something cracks and it's cracks like that. It's probably not going to crack across. It would crack from here to there, maybe like that. And then maybe like that. I don't know.
It's like every windshield in New Mexico.
I see. When people have, I guess it freezes and then stuff hits it, or is it just the rocks?
It starts out as just the rocks and it's downhill from there.
Okay. Well, so yeah, you can just put these in. Probably best if you don't put a lot of them in, but a few. And so just use this and it'll work just fine. Now that these all have dried, you can probably get away with going back in and nope, not really. It just doesn't, no. If it gets like that and you wait until it's completely dry, and even with just your fingernail, you can go and scrape off the white and start over. You really can. So in fact, I may even just show you here. Oh. If you want to, then you can Go back in and do that and then try again. So you don't have to feel like if you don't get it right the first time, it's ruined. And I was using this 08. I'm going to try now with a 10 and see what I can do. Okay. You kind of have to come on with a sure hand. I don't have any of my icon writers here, but it's like putting the halo on the saint. You've got to just go for it. Anyway, and you will look around and you will see, might want to put in a couple little sparkles, couple more. Study these things on the internet when you're bored, when you're waiting in the car while somebody's gone in to shop, or something like that. Anyway, there we go. Light hand and patience and practice. I'm going to show you a few more things here, but that's the deal. And the tape will be up in a day or two or so. And then you can go back over this if you want to. This morning, I found this little tangle. It's pretty simple. It's called the fan dance. And it's just a zigzag with these little teardrops in it. And I decided to make it sort of look like a bracelet or something for this bookmark. Just, you know, a border pattern even. This would make a nice border with periodic gems in it. And then the gem could be put in here. Or you could put random gems in these little ones too. And then I also prepared, before we started, I was riffing off of the example I showed you off that 10 by 10 tile, but these are just spaces where I could put the gems in, and then I could put the bezel around in here in this area. But this could be all different color gems. And then you can put some other tangling around, or just leave it like that and make it a little bookmark. That'd be kind of fun. So whenever you're doodling, you might want to just, you know, make a little something like here. And then add your curlicues and whatever. Kind of figure out some like brooch settings or something. Or tell him what you could come up with. And now I'm going to show you one more thing. If all you got is your black pencil, and this orb. Come in with that dark shading, kind of around like that, and around the bottom a little bit. Get your accordion, smooth it out. And then you can go ahead and, you know, make a little black and white gem there. The way we really use that a lot, though, is the same principle applies. If we have a pearl, you know, a small orb, and we shade part of it. And then we make this dot. And I can go back here and show you what I'm talking about. You can see it. Well, here we go. Where those orbs, I shaded the top half, and then I put these little white dots on there like that. Same principle as this. And it looks like you've got all these little pearls around here and that are reflecting the light. It's that dark, that light, bright white on the dark that gives it this sparkle. That is the sparkle.
Absolutely fascinating.
And Frances, just get on YouTube, type in Zen gems, and just watch other people do these. You don't have to do it yourself, but I find it fascinating too. I'm a crazy person. I lay in bed at night and watch people tangle. I've just got to confess. It's a disease, and probably there's a 12-step program.
If not, we need to make one.
We probably do. Anyway.
Yeah, that it really is fascinating. That is gorgeous.
How we can
Mine
make
didn't turn
something.
out quite like that, but
Well,
yeah, at least I got the idea. Yeah,
You got the idea, and you
Yeah,
can practice.
do. Yeah, it's great.
You know, those
Thank you.
Crayolas, if you got
Yeah.
real Crayolas,
Yeah.
those are wax.
Right. Yeah.
Now, you may have
That's
got
one-
markers or something else, and you can do this with markers, but
Yeah.
I just think
Well,
it's fascinating to do it with the wax, where you really
Some of the wax crayons I have, I really want them to be darker, and so you just keep, but they're so waxy that it just builds up. It doesn't get a darker shade of purple. It just, just builds up on the paper, and so that's why I've got several colors of purple. But anyway, but yes, but that it is just fascinating, Gay. It is
well,
absolutely
even with your
fascinating.
Crayolas, you
Yeah.
saw here what I did.
Yes.
On this one, I laid the black down, and then I put the lightly, and then I mixed that
Yeah.
lighter color in it.
crayons.
And
Yeah.
you actually are mixing the colors on
Yeah.
the paper. Nobody taught us that in elementary school,
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
really mix the colors with our crayons.
Correct.
But you can do that.
Well, my phone is burning up. I know my brother called me at the very beginning of this class. I
wait.
told him I'd call him back, and so I know I don't know who else called me, but yeah, I need to.
Well, and I need to go too.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you so
8:30,
much.
and I
Yeah,
really
it's
enjoyed the
9:30.
evening with you
Yeah.
all, and I hope
Yeah.
you have something to take home.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
do.
Kay. Y'all have a
Thank
good week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.